Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon One Pickups.
Hey, everybody, this is me, Todd Novak. We are super thrilled that you are listening to our show, the Guitar Knobs Podcast.
That's right.
And let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, Tony. What do we do on the show, buddy?
We like to talk to builders and purveyors of fine musical instruments and amplifiers and pedals, and the occasional reviewer of said things, and even more occasionally, other podcasters.
That's true. We're the champions of the boutique builders.
The little guy,
Yes.
the Davies, not the Goliaths.
Yes, we unscrew the little light bulb and put in the biggest one we can.
LED.
I don't know, for the spotlight or whatever. Okay, anyway, blah. Hey, who do we have on the line that fits that one of those descriptions?
This is Blake Wyland. I'm from the Tone Mob podcast. I'm stoked to be here.
Yes, the Tone Mob pod. Let me try that again. Yes, the Tone Mob. Tony almost shot beer out of his nose. Here, hang on. We're really excited to have you on the show. We ran into Blake at the NAMM convention. I'm sure you're sick of hearing us talking about the NAMM. But
We've never talked about the NAMM show, have we?
We should do this whole show on it. No, I'm just kidding. We absolutely will not. But it was a real pleasure meeting him and getting to just kind of chat, seeing a brother in microphone arms, and we were wearing the same shoes, which is cool too. Speaking of that, Blake, after the show, you're going to have to go to my Instagram and watch, because you like these kind of shoes. I just posted some about my new ones. I think you'll get it.
Some new ones? Oh,
you'll get it.
Nice.
And probably have a good laugh.
I just got some new ones too, but I went off brand. I'm rocking some Jordans right now.
Hey, that's cool.
Not the only one.
Yeah, Jared loves the sneakers. Alrighty, everybody. We got a couple of announcements, so we're going to hit real quick, and then we'll get into all the good stuff. Let's see. Gentlemen, do you have any announcements?
I do not have any announcements this week.
Jared?
Not this
Excellent.
week.
Nice, Todd. Manners.
That was just to get up
Manners.
Jared's little skirt there. Okay. Hey, I want to call attention to our friend Jeff Schroeder. You've heard us talk about him many times. He's been on the show twice. He's the guitarist of Smashing Pumpkins and a good friend of our podcast. And he started something new called Aesthetic Records. That's EZZ-THETIC Records. And so I'm just going to read the little blurb. I'm not going to paraphrase because he spent a lot of time writing it, and he sent us a nice little something here.
Yeah, just read.
And all right, thanks, Jared. So his the thing that he's doing here, he did a mashup here between Aesthetic Records, which he just started, which I'm sure you're going to hear more about, and Metric Coffee, and this is called the Day of Reckoning. It says Day of Reckoning is the first volume in a DIY collaboration between Aesthetic Records and Metric Coffee Company. From the minds of Smashing Pumpkins' Jeff Schroeder and Metric Coffee's Xavier Alexander, Day of Reckoning brings a community of Chicago artists from music, production, design, and specialty coffee together for a single expression of independent experimentation. Holy moly! So he sent us a nice gift box with this special coffee, a special piece of art.
What's this thing?
That is, and a cassette tape.
A cassette tape,
man.
A red acrylic.
What do you do with this?
Transparent red acrylic.
Put it in
tape.
the cassette deck.
Yeah, but it also has a download, so you can use that too.
Oh,
but it's
okay.
really cool.
I got a nice cassette deck at home. That's
the music
up.
is just it's really fantastic.
How's the coffee?
Check him out on Instagram. Go to Aesthetic Records, or I think it's just Aesthetic Records, EZZ-THETIC Records. And if you can't find that, track down Jeff on Instagram, and I know he's got posts about it. So that's really exciting. This is something that he's always wanted to do, start a record company, and he has done so.
It's
so
really cool.
Really exciting.
Packaging is really neat.
Congratulations, Jeff. We also want to encourage. So occasionally we get posts about people out in the wild who like our show, and usually they're wearing one of our shirts. And so this week we had our buddy John Anglin, who was actually, on stage doing his thing, and he had on one of our shirts, and somebody took a snapshot of it. So if you've got one of our shirts, for Pete's sakes, take a picture of it and post it. Send it to me. We'll repost it, or tag us in it and we'll repost it or whatever, but it'll get reposted.
Didn't Oliver Gonzalez have one?
Yeah,
he did too.
Music
That's
Mesa.
right. He did. He was at a convention.
Music Mesa.
Yeah. He's
Also,
doing
send
all
us
kinds
your
of great stuff.
Would you rathers too. We love to get would you rathers.
Yes, indeed. Send us your would you rathers. All right, everybody. That's lots of announcement type things. Ooh. So listen, we had a heck of a time. Actually, we were having a good laugh, right? Blake? Two podcasters trying to actually connect over the things that we use on a weekly basis with.
Oh yeah, I have not had that much problem in quite some time with the actual connection.
Yeah.
I was like, this will be no problem. I'm sure we all have like 3 or 4 different methods, and it's like, okay, well, we went through 3 of them.
Yeah.
So,
I got a power nap in while you guys figured it out.
He did.
So 2 podcasters walk into a bar.
exactly. That was
Exactly. Yes.
Oh man.
Ouch. And both say ouch. All right. Well,
But we did it, and that's what's important.
We
We're here.
did.
We persevered. See, unlike non-podcasters who maybe would have given up, 40 minutes ago, we
Yes, that's
persevered, and we're like, well, no, the show must go on.
It
We're
did,
not gonna let
take
this
that
happen.
long.
And you're as clear as a bell.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
and see, we were just about to use the phone version of how this was going to work on our thing, but I said we both actually started like no. We want to make sure that for this one especially we get the best quality that we can. So I appreciate that from you over there you're in Oregon, right?
Yes. I love Oregon, but it's gray right now, as to be expected for this time of year. But
Sure.
Here we are.
Yes, doing our thing.
Yep.
I got a real big shout out I got to give to Rode Microphones. Thank you so much, Rode Microphones, for helping us to record our thoughts, opinions, and nonsense on the Rode Procaster Series microphones and the new Rodecaster Pro Production Studio. This thing is awesome. We are really loving it. It has taken the place of our beloved Franken Monster podcast machine, which I don't know. We're going to have to spray paint it in gold and put it somewhere,
Bronze
when
it.
it's done.
Let's bronze it.
But the Rodecaster Pro Production Studio is working out great for us, and thank you so much to Rode for helping us out with that. And check them out if you're interested in doing your own podcast, or you're interested in using this. You can record your own band with this. You don't have to record podcasts. You can. It's got 4 inputs. Hook up 4 microphones.
That's all
Record
you
yourself,
need.
man. It's
all
all
you
good
need.
stuff. So big thanks to them, Rode Microphones. So. Ladies and gentlemen, what did we do this week in music guitar stuff? Jared.
So today on my way here, I had with me a box I got in the mail today from a customer of mine that I do a lot of business with, and I repair a lot of pickups for their company, their shop. And so I got here up into the office early, and I go to open the box, and to my surprise, it wasn't what I thought it was. Last week, I was looking at getting a digital stereo chorus flanger, one of those Digitech 1700s, and I bought it, and I went back and forth with a guy on Reverb about it and all that kind of thing. And it's in mint condition. It's very clean with the box and the instructions and all that kind of thing. And you get it out and you look at it. It looks like it hasn't even been touched or used at all. It's like brand
Wow,
new.
he just unboxed it. This is really, really cool. And that is a retro old D box.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, that's so cool. Do you know what year this is?
I don't. But the funny thing is, the guy who I got it from is my customer.
That's awesome.
I haven't even contacted him yet. Say, hey, that's me that bought that Digitech thing, and we went back and forth on it. It was probably one of his employees that I haggled with, but I actually got that for $85.
Don't say the name of it.
$85, $90.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty inexpensive for
It's
what
one
it
of the
was.
Digitech slant front with the dual, real shallow pedals on it.
Yeah, it's
They're like the soft touch kind of like.
And it's made in USA.
it's the Chorus Flanger 1700.
Yeah, it's gray. It looks mid, maybe late 80s.
Yeah, maybe 90s too. I don't know.
No, this is probably early. Actually, this could be early 80s.
Yeah. Well, anyways, there it is. It's got a serial number on it, so we need to look it up and find out when that was made.
Yeah, what I really like about it, I would have really wanted to see how it sounded like, is because it had the two outputs, the A and the B, because I do use two cabs for stereo.
That's
So,
of course he does.
I'm reading some of this. Like, there's a sticker on the back. It says, for AC operation, use a 10-volt DC negative ground power supply. There's no such animal.
I was just going, wait, what?
Yeah. It says for
No.
battery operation, use one Everready number 216 battery or equivalent. To preserve battery, disconnect
Engineers.
input when not in use. And it tells you here, this is how you know when the battery is bad. LED will dim and distortion will be present when battery is depleted.
Ooh,
Perfect.
That's
Perfect.
yeah.
What are you talking about?
So
What's
it not
wrong with
only
that?
is it a chorus flanger, it's a distortion pedal.
I like
once
that.
the battery wears out.
yay! Put a dead bat through it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this thing, man. I can't wait to go home and try it out.
That would actually be really interesting to run a dead bat through that.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know, man. I'm sure people have experienced that noise back in the day.
Yeah, that's
using
really interesting.
9 volts and stuff. I don't know. But yeah,
very cool.
I can't wait to try it out, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Blake, let's hear from you, buddy.
Let's see. This week, this week's kind of new, so not a lot has happened technically this week, but last week quite a bit of stuff happened.
We'll take
One
it.
of the most interesting gear things that happened is I've got this 1961 Champ, like a tweed Champ that was my grandpa's, and it sounds pretty good. But obviously, the 8-inch speaker in there lacks a little bit of lots of stuff. And I got hooked up with John Sanchez from WGS. He came on my podcast here a few weeks ago, and he's local. And he's like, "Hey, we've got this really awesome 8-inch Alnico speaker, like specifically for champs and things like that, if you want to give this a try." And he came over and we fumbled around and figured out the cord situation and got this speaker installed. And man, at first it was like, yeah, this sounds a little bit better. But it was brand new, not broken at all. And then after about 40 minutes, it was like, oh yeah, this is what this thing needed. So yeah, that Champ is it sounded good before, but now it's really singing. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
pretty stoked on it.
Feels good when you got it figured out.
Yeah, I didn't know that I didn't have it figured out, but I didn't, because this is a significant improvement, to say the least.
Wow.
One of my close friends, Mark Chenzo, who runs a recording studio, when he gets new speakers or like a new amp with some, maybe he's not sure how old the speakers are, he's got a white noise, a variable white noise, so it isn't just. It's got a fluctuating frequency. And he essentially just sticks it in his ISO cab and runs it for like 24 hours or 48 hours. He just runs it, just lets it go. And essentially it's enough flexing. You're not like pushing tons of air, but you're basically just stretching, flexing it, warming it up, so
You're
to
getting
speak.
it going, yeah.
Yeah. So there's something you can do.
Gotta
I
wear
guess
the new
you
off
just
of it.
turn on your looper pedal and, just don't let your tubes burn out. Yeah.
I think I'll do it I'm just gonna do it the natural way, because they're not probably the original, but they're definitely old tubes, and I'd hate to barbecue them prematurely. So
Yeah.
I'll just rock it
For
and
sure.
it'll just get better over time.
That'll work
the
too.
old fashioned way. But that's definitely a technique I've heard from lots of people. There is definitely something to it. Unless the speaker manufacturer pre-breaks them in, that it definitely has an impact, like noticeable. Not even a psychoacoustic thing, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, why does it sound better all of a sudden? And John was kind of explaining it to me, because he's the speaker guy.
Gotcha. Well, that's mighty fine. Tony, what about you, buddy?
Well, this week I've been catching up with Earthquaker Devices series called Bored to Death, Board. And a buddy of mine had sent a link for a Doug Gillard episode. Doug is with Guided by Voices and Not a Surf and Cobra Verde. And I'm a big GBV fan. And
I'll edit that.
Oh, yeah, you will not edit that.
That was a good clear throater thing.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So, huge GBV fan, and really I like the work that Doug does. And at my shop, the unofficial kickoff to every day is we listen to Pop Zeus, which is a Robert Pollard, Doug Gillard composition. And at the end of the video that he's demonstrating various pedals and things that he has on his board, he goes into the Pop Zeus riff and plays most of the song.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was kind of fun.
That was a nice treat.
But yeah, but I also spent. I mean, I also like the Nels Klein one from Wilco, and oh my God, he's just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it just lots of things like you like the noisy stuff.
I do like noisy stuff. I don't like either one of those bands at all.
Well,
but I appreciate that you do.
We'll just edit that out then.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that, yeah, other than the normal humdrum stuff, I've been catching up. I'm expanding my horizons. I'm becoming a pedal guy now.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Finally.
You have loads of pedals.
I know. I just don't use them.
Yeah, I can't hear the word humdrum without thinking of the Buzzcocks. I know, it's impossible. There's just certain trigger words that that's a sickness I have.
What was going on in your world, dude?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, buddy. We got a box from Greece.
Oppa!
Yeah, there's about 28 Grecian stamps on it. It was kind of neat.
Does it have Grecian
And it
formula?
all looked like it literally, all the words and everything on there is like, it doesn't even look real. It doesn't look like real words because it's literally Greek. And
it's Greek to me, right?
it was Greek to me.
Isn't it
Greek to all of
Cyrillic?
us. No.
No, that's Russian.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyways, point being, there was a box of jam in it. Jam pedals.
I like jam.
The jam pedals from Greece. So they sent us out some pedals. We're going to have them on the show, and we're going to check them out and get familiar with them and play with them. It was really fun, really neat. Nice people over there.
And nice packaging.
I was going to say that.
Really nice packaging. They definitely go the extra mile, and not necessarily extravagant, just thoughtful packaging.
It's pretty darn nice, man.
It's good. It's real good. Dude, we got to get into your 4 on the floor, my man. Let's do this.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
Blake Wyland from Tone Mob Podcast. We're dying to hear your 4 on the floor. Take it away, my man.
I don't know if you understand how difficult of a task this is for me. This is a very, very challenging for me to go with just 4 pedals. I haven't played with just 4 pedals since I discovered what guitar pedals were. like that's an exaggeration, but like seriously, I'm as a lot of people know, and I don't know if your listeners know or not, but I'm a pedal addict, and I'm perfectly okay with it. But I am a pedal addict, and I can't really imagine having a board with less than 10 pedals on it. But
yeah,
that's me. I'm trying to. This was a big task for me, and so I was trying to cover like most of the grounds that I would normally cover with a big board, and so that was a little bit challenging. But so first, I got to go with a good overdrive, just a good solid all around overdrive. And every time I plug in the Wrought Iron Effects Orcrist, it just brings a huge smile to my face because it has a sword on it that lights up. So let's be honest, you can't go wrong there. and it just looks amazing, and it sounds absolutely incredible. It's a great overdrive. Ed does excellent work, and that's been kind of when people have asked me what my favorite overdrive is the last few months. That's the one I tend to point people to, just because I just really, really like it.
And the name one more time?
The Wrought Iron Effects Orcrist.
Orcrist.
Orcrist. It's very.
That's the first
it's very
time
nice.
on the 4 on the floor that
I
we've
haven't
had
heard
that.
one before.
So you guys like to be the champion of the little guy. This is, Ed is definitely a little guy. He's doing everything himself. He puts in a ton of work and it's all amazing. So I think he does really great work, and he also makes straps. It's another thing he does. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Right
big
on.
shout out to
We'll have
Ed.
to check
He's
him out.
he's an awesome dude. Super cool dude.
Right on. Number 2.
Number 2, this is I would have chosen differently, except that this pedal recently came back into my life. It was out on a loan, and I forgot how much I loved it and how crazy it can get, or not, if the case calls for it. And that would be the Keeley Loomer. I love the Loomer.
Oh, yeah.
The fuzz circuit in it is really cool. It sounds sort of op amp muffish. Like I think that's kind of the angle they were going for. Couple different EQ modes on it, full, flat, and scooped. And you got to scoop those mids. Let's be honest.
Scoop them up, man.
Scoop them. Actually, the full sounds the best to me. But yeah, that's a great sounding pedal. For those who don't know, it's a fuzz and like. I don't know what you would call the other sections. It's definitely like a fuzz and a reverb, but there's like some crazy reverse reverb stuff going on. Some weird modulation things happening. It's a really cool pedal.
Horrible.
Basically, the idea around it was not to like completely replicate Kevin Shields' pedal board, but get as close as you can in a one pedal format. So that one covers a lot of ground. And then the next pedal on my list, there's a lot of different delays that could slot into this position, but I kind of go back to one of my old faithful and some guys in the industry I've gotten really close to, and that would be the Solid Gold Effects Electroman Mark II.
Gotcha.
That pedal is the original Electroman was actually my first delay pedal that I ever bought, and I really liked it, and I played it for years. It's got, it's basically a modulated delay with an effects loop, so you can plug other pedals into there and impact the repeats, which is obviously a ton of fun. And then it's got a warp switch, which is basically that's your runaway switch. So you want to hold and let the repeats kind of just go crazy. That switch is your friend.
That's a foot switch?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a momentary foot switch. So you
Yes.
can
I like
accentuate
momentary.
certain little parts and whatever with some noise. And the Mark II is actually surprisingly much better sounding. And when I've talked to them over there, they're like, it's really only a Mark II in name. Like the circuit's completely different, and there's a lot more options. And this one has tails and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it has a lot more range on the controls, so brighter and darker repeats than the original, plus all the good stuff that I liked from the original. So
Awesome.
that would probably be my delay of choice.
I've been in, I can't even tell you how many email exchanges we've had with Solid Gold, trying to organize a show. People don't understand out there. I really don't think they get it. Like how you get it. Wrangling people to be on the show is like, I need a full-time assistant just for that. And
What's so funny
tricky.
is like most of the time, yeah, it's tricky. But then what I've found lately with certain guests that I would expect to be really difficult to get, they're just like, yeah, let's do it next Wednesday. And then it just wham, bam, we're done.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like some higher, like kind of profile artists and stuff. I'm like, oh, you're probably really busy. Like, I'm free Friday. Let's do it Friday. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. That was easier than I thought.
It is interesting how that plays out. We'll get into the podcasting bit of it in a little bit.
Right.
Yes, we're going down a different rabbit hole. How about number 4?
Number 4, this one I've thought long and hard about, and I think I settled on the thing that will give me, maybe not the most options, but it gives me what I need, and I think I'm going to go with the Mr. Black Super Moon Eclipse.
That one
that's
has
gonna
been
be-
on before.
Yeah, that's the one I'm going to go with. Because in stereo, it sounds so good. You didn't limit me to on my amplifier, so at least I can have 2 amps even though I can only have 4 pedals. So I'll go with the Supermoon Eclipse.
You could have 4 amps if you'd like.
Oh, well, now we're talking. Now we are talking.
Quadrophenia.
So what about that does it for you so much?
Well, the way it sounds in stereo is really impressive. Again, like I know Jack really well, and he puts a ton of effort into things that most people don't even consider, and most players may not even realize until you plug it in and actually listen to it. And what I like about it, obviously, modulated reverb. The Supermoon's kind of a modern classic sounding reverb, and the Eclipse gives you the Eclipse and the Supermoon Chrome, and also true stereo in and out. So that's 2 distinct audio paths that are completely separated from each other.
Wow.
And also it's got a preset mode, and then you can one thing I love about the new pedals that they're making is the way they implemented expression control. Honestly, should be industry standard. I have no idea why they were the first to do this, but so all the knobs are expression, they can be controlled via expression if you want. And how do you assign what's expression and what's not? You just turn the knob all the way up. That's it. There's no menu to scroll through. You don't got to like tap anything or, wave it back and forth and hold your tongue to the roof of your mouth just right or whatever the case may be. It's just turn the knob all the way up. That one's expression control
You can
now.
do that at the show with no hesitation. Mm-hmm. Right in the middle of the show. Turn it up.
Yep. It's really easy. And you just look down like, oh, that's one's on. It's so silly that like there's been some really, really smart engineers, design pedals with expression control and assignable expression control. And none of them are that simple. I think that needs to be the new normal.
Noted. I will send it to the council.
Do it. Wait, there's a council?
Yes, there. You don't know about the council?
Secret pedal council, man.
I would know if there was a council. This is insane.
Well, that's a bummer. We were hoping you'd get us in.
I'll call Brian Wampler.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll know.
All right, dude. That's pretty good. 4 on the floor. That's 4 new ones. Well, I don't think we've had it. Well,
The black.
the Mr. Black one.
and the Loomer. Wasn't the Loomer on?
No. Hasn't been on.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. We will get that up and running. If you out there who are listening are not familiar with 4 on the Floor, maybe this is your first merry-go-round with us, you can check out on our website. We'll have each of those pedals posted with a little blurb from Blake and a link to actually purchase those. We don't get a dime off that, so we try to make sure the builders
Maybe
do.
we should get a dime off of it.
I don't want a dime off it. Let the builders get it, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're a nice guy.
I am. Let's see. And so you can check that on our Instagram. You can check it on our website.
Yep.
And thank you. Appreciate it. Good stuff. Okay. Now, let's get into the biznaz while you're on the shoe. So you make podcasts about guitar stuff. We make podcasts about guitar stuff. So this should be a pretty good conversation, I think. You mentioned earlier, you said, I don't know if your audience listens or whatever. It's like, it's not that big of a world. I'm pretty sure we're sharing almost the exact same audience.
Well, you never know.
I mean, there's always new ones you can garner. I'm still amazed at when people say, "Oh, I've been listening to guitar podcasts for years," or and I just found you, and it's really there's not that many. So
Yeah.
if you're interested, you just keep looking. There's loads of great ones out there. We've got lots of friends who are doing this, and I think everybody's got a really unique voice, and they're worth hearing, such as yourself, Blake.
Oh, well, thanks.
Now, first of all, we got to find out what's going on. I want to get just a quick setup. So we're going to, you've probably told this 100 times, but can you give us the background on basically how you got started in this? And then we'll get into all kinds of great juicy stuff about the podcast and a little bit deeper who you are.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a shot here. It's really kind of a funny story. It was, based around me being obviously obsessed with gear and trying to figure out, like, I was like, I'd like to do something in this industry, but I'm not a builder. You know, it's not where my strength lies. I'm handy with stuff. I can, you know, I built the studio that I'm in and things like that, but I'm not super detail oriented with that kind of a thing. And I was just like, but I'm fascinated with it. And
Right.
I'm fascinated with the people who do it. And so I just kind of thought, well, I guess I'll try to do something. And the first thing I did was like, I should say, and I think I've said this on a few different shows, but I didn't have any experience with social media. I didn't even have a Facebook account. I didn't do any of it at all. It's just like, I'm like, all my friends are, you know, my friends, and well, I'll just call them if I need to talk to them. Like, I really didn't get it. And I just started looking around, and one thing that happened was Chris Benson shared a picture that I sent him on Instagram. And
Of Benson amps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And it was an amp he'd built for me, and he shared the picture on his Instagram. And I'm like, wow, look at all these people like in this picture. Like, that's kind of a cool thing. Like, that's kind of interesting. And
You're gonna make a wonderful grandparent someday.
yeah, no kidding. And to be fair, like, I still don't really use it for personal things. I pretty much only use it for guitar stuff and running stuff for clients, but that's another story. Anyway, I was like, well, I'll start an account. And so I started the Tone Mob account. I was going to start Tone Mob, but some like older Italian lady has the account Tone Mob. And so I couldn't.
Okay.
And so it's the Tone Mob. And I posted a picture of my 1965 Ampeg J12. Just like I just took a picture of it and was like, here we go. And some people liked it. And like somebody started following me like instantly. And I was like, this seems like this could be useful. I
Yeah.
said to myself. And I just kept posting things and doing some more research on it. And then eventually got really into how all of that works and really fascinated kind of specifically with Instagram. It's still my favorite platform. It just works for me. And so I started building an Instagram following and figured out I kind of had a knack for that and just kept going. Then I thought, well, I've got this thing going already. Maybe another thing I really like is podcasts, and I don't see any podcasts interviewing guitar people, and there really wasn't at the time. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll give it a shot. And Ryan McCaffrey from McCaffrey Audio and I had been joking around about Hulk Hogan on Instagram back and forth. And so I direct messaged him and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting this podcast. Would you like to be the first guest? And he said, yeah. And we talked before about the app I use. I went up into the hills in Portland after work because it was the only quiet spot I could find, and I couldn't get home soon enough to make the schedule lined up. So I just went after work, and I literally just walked up into the hills, fired up the app, and we had a 30-minute conversation. And I said, I know I said 30 minutes, but this really feels like it's not long enough. How about an hour? And he was like, sure. So we did an hour, and then I just kept contacting people, and pretty soon people were contacting me, and it just kind of built on itself. And yeah, I recorded, I don't even know how many episodes. I'd have to go back and look, but I want to say probably the first 40 or 50 episodes at or around my place of employment via this app called Ringer. Mm-hmm. I posted in my Facebook group, and maybe I can give you these photos if I can dig them up, of the petroleum lab where I used to sit and record all these conversations. And because the job was such that there was two things. You were either running around like an absolute maniac with no time to even eat lunch or breathe, or there was nothing going on and you were just waiting for the next shift to come in.
Right.
And so when I was just waiting for the next shift to come in, I'm like, well, guess I'll go record a podcast then.
Yeah.
And so that's how I record a lot. That's why you hear trains in the early episodes, and you hear all kinds of crazy things and weird beeps and squeaks and things. And I edited a lot of it out, but some of it just was impossible. And so, yeah, it just kind of kept going and people kept listening. You know, that first episode, I put it out and told Instagram about it. And it was like, got 100 downloads. 100 downloads like in the first day or so. Like,
isn't that neat?
I was like, what? I was like, this is mind blowing. It was blowing my mind at the time. And, yeah, it just kept going. And now it's like I'm interviewing people that I never imagined that I would ever get to talk to at all. And so this is just, it's been the craziest experience. I was able to move out of that job, you know, around this time last year. And it's just been the crazy, it all comes back down to the podcast and the people supporting that. And because that's where most people know me from. And so it's just been insane, to say the least.
That's awesome. And not far from this, this podcast origin too. I think we both were doing it at work. We didn't have trains, but we did have massive amounts of room reverb because we're in a giant glass
aquarium
at the agency that I worked at. But I share a lot of those same experiences, especially the one, you know, when that first 100 hits, it's like incredible, you know? And
it's mind blowing.
And you're just going like, how is this possible?
People like me.
Well, and then on top of that, if you go into your metrics and you're like, wait, we found one guy there was one person on this like remote island off of Sweden that was listening to us. And I was like, if you're out there, we're saying hello right now. I'm like, I was just blown away. Like there could be a guy walking down the street in Vietnam listening to us, which is true. They're there. We can map them. It's fascinating. It's thrilling. I'm right there with you, man. It's neat, especially when it's getting going and you're just like, wow. Can you give us a couple highlights of your show so far?
Oh, as far as people I never thought I would talk to?
Yeah.
Well, I never ever thought I would get to talk to Brian Fallon from the Gaslight Anthem. I'm big fan of that band and have been for many, many years. And so a pretty huge highlight was, we were my wife and I were in New York for the Fear the Riff Expo, the first one, or the second one, excuse me. And Gaslight was playing the 10-year anniversary of the 59 Sound, a little mini tour they were doing, and they were playing in Boston. And she's like, we got to go. Like, we got to go. And I'd already been talking to Ian, and I'd already talked to Brian once before when they were in Portland. And she's like, we got to go. And I messaged Ian, who's in the band too. And I was like, if I come down to Boston, or go up to Boston rather, you think we could get a podcast in? And he's like, oh yeah, we could do it. And so, nice. Yeah, it was pretty surreal to be sitting on the back of the tour bus with one of my favorite songwriters, just nerding out about the same stuff that we all nerd out about. And I'm like, just hanging out. And I'm like, man, it's like, trying not to make it weird, but it's like, I've been listening to you for a really long time. And trying to be not that guy, but at the same time, mentally being totally
yeah, it's hard not to fanboy, except you're like, yeah, but that's what this is for.
Yeah. And so, and what's even more amazing is just, we really hit it off. And so, now we're kind of like texting buddies, and I'm just like, this is freaking cool. My wife's like, are you talking to Brian again? I'm like, yeah. So that was definitely a highlight. And it's nice that he's definitely a really good guy, and we talk on the regular, and it's become, we've kind of crossed that fan barrier. Now it's like, you're just a great guy.
Yeah.
And I enjoy talking with you.
You mentioned your studio. Tell us about the studio you built.
So it's not anything that's like, it's not impressive by studio standards, but it's probably pretty impressive by the dedication to hoarding gear standards. I my son was going to be born, and I had two options. My options were sell some stuff because it's not fitting in this room, in this house anymore. Plus, you're not really going to be able to play that much because there's going to be a new baby, and the baby's going to sleep, and you don't get to wake that baby. And the other option was build something out in the backyard to hold all my stuff and soundproof it as much as you can afford to so that you can play pretty much whenever you want. And I chose option B because, why not? And so, yeah, it looks bigger than it is. It looks pretty big because it's really tall, but it's only about 300 square feet or so. Mm-hmm. And it's primarily just a music room. And yeah, it's really tall. I made it with really tall ceilings in case I ever wanted to record drums out here because that helps the sound quite a lot. So it's about 14.6, I believe, to the peak. Pretty tall for a 300 square foot building. Yeah. But yeah, it's my office now. I have affectionately called it the shred shed, which a lot of people think I invented that term. That's not true. I first heard one of the guys on the original iteration of the Chasing Tone podcast use that. I can't remember if it was Max or Travis, but that's where I got that term. I kind of stole it from them. So, yes. And I've tried to be very clear about that, but some people still think I'm the shred shed inventor. It's like, no, they invented the term.
Yeah.
But that's what I've called it. And it's just my little, my gear hoarding
home away
podcast
from home
studio. And it's the most beautiful thing about it. Well, from the outside, it's other than looking tall, it's fairly unassuming. But when you go inside, it looks pretty cool when it's not a total disaster, which it almost always is. But it's all like reclaimed fence boards on the walls and ceilings and stuff. So it looks pretty cool in my humble estimation. Plus, It was nice because I didn't have to do any fine finish carpentry. I could just throw cheap wood or not cheap wood, but just throw unfinished wood on the walls and hey, that looks great. Let's go leave it like that.
You don't want it to look like another house on the outside, right? I mean, you don't want people to say, oh, look at that. That looks really nice. I want to go and see what's inside that. Because that's something I would do. I would kind of camouflage it.
You creep around people's backyards looking at how good their sheds are?
I think he does. I think he does.
Actually, no. We had somebody walking through our neighborhood last week, checking car doors and shed doors and all that kind of thing.
Interesting.
Fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think that the old wood helps with the sound?
Well, I don't think that it necessarily impacts the sound per se, but it did change the dimension slightly. I thought I was going to have to do a bunch of room treatment out here. When I first got it built and drywalled, I'd come out here and clap, and there was definitely a very, very loud, weird reflection. I was like, ooh, gonna have to do some treatment. That's not gonna fly. And then I put the wood up, and it's all basically uniform, but I think it was just enough variation that it eliminated that. So I'm like, good. I don't have to spend any money on sound treatment. That worked out.
Yeah, and, not so for us.
Well, what's really strange about it is I have a friend locally with a really, really nice studio, and he got way nerdier than me and got into doing, calculating room dimensions and trying to find the perfect ratios and all that. And he knew I was building it, and I sent him the specs. He just was curious. He's like, I just want to run these numbers and see what your ratios are. And then he messaged me back, and he was like, hey, who gave you these dimensions? I was like, my yard, because that's what would fit there. And he's like, these are not perfect, but they're really, really close. I'm like, well, okay then. And I found I can just throw mics up kind of willy nilly, and things generally just sound good out here. It's a nice sounding room. So I will be measuring this thing and saving these dimensions. If I ever move and have to build this again, I will try to replicate it.
Now, are you going to have to build another one because you're having a new baby?
No, that's okay. There's enough space in our house for the other baby. But once I got all my junk out of there, it's amazing. There was so much more room in the house once all my stuff got out of there. I know. It's weird.
When I'm not there, there's lots of room.
Right. So yeah,
cool.
it'll be, I should be still pretty secure
Good.
I can still hoard more gear.
Well, and speaking of the new baby, when we were trying to orchestrate this this interview, you let me know, like, hey, this may have to get postponed because I'm ready for a new one, like literally any day, any minute. Wow. So hopefully we get through the call and you don't get the,
Well, I want to talk about, speaking of hoarding new gear. We know that you have a pedal or two that you like,
and guitars,
and
amps.
Well, we want to talk about guitars and amps. So I'd like you to know what your all-time favorite guitar and all-time favorite amp is. That is either in your collection currently, or was at one point, or might be in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is actually a little easier than the pedal question. My all-time favorite amp is indeed in my collection, and it is the Benson Amps Vincent.
Ah, yes.
Yes. So a lot of people might know the kind of the backstory on that, but I'll try to condense it as much as I can. So the Benson Amps Vinny is an amp that I first commissioned from Chris, saying, "Hey, I just want like a little toy amp for my son so that he can have an amp that matches his dad's." And Chris said, "Well, if I'm going to make an amp, it's going to sound good." And so he and I kind of talked about it a little bit. I didn't really have too much input on that one, other than I was like, "Hey, can you make this with an instrument level output on it?" Because it's just a small 1 watt guitar amplifier. It sounds huge, but it's a 1 watt. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And I started finding that my favorite overdrive sound was plugging the Vinny into my Monarch and just driving the Vinny like crazy, because the instrument level output is post power tube. So it just sounds just massive when you put it in front of a bigger amplifier. And so
for those who don't know, the Monarch is the Benson sort of flagship amp.
Yeah. It was their kind of the thing that put them on the map.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to Chris about that, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, people don't understand how amazing the Vinny sounds when you plug it into a bigger amplifier. It just is the craziest sounding thing." And we were going back and forth, and he called me actually on that same New York trip where I was just walking down Fifth Avenue, and I think this is like the moment my wife realized how huge of a nerd I really am. Because like my eyes lit up, because I was like, "Dude, you make a channel switching amp, you put the Vinny circuit in there as the drive circuit, and then you have the Chimera which is his 30 watt amp. Mm-hmm. Have the Chimera as the main kind of amplifier, and then you have the Vinny switchable." And so he thought about it for a while, and we're going back and forth, and she's like, "We're in New York City. Like, why don't you enjoy New York City and stop talking about guitar amplifiers?" But anyway, we kind of went back and forth on that one, and I sweet talked Chris into putting an effects loop in it, which is he's not normally big on, but since this effects loop is in between the Vinny circuit and the Chimera, well, it's a kind of a modified Chimera circuit. It doesn't really sound like he doesn't have the qualities of effects loop that he does not like. It sounds more like going into the front of an amplifier, because in effect it is. But yeah, so that's basically it. The Benson Vincent is if you want a super clean pedal platform, it's there. If you want like a super like overdriven sound, you click the Vinny section on, and it's there. And also, I should say, my son's name is Vincent, so obviously I'm pretty biased on that one.
I named my guitar Vinny, actually.
You did. That's right.
The one that Chase put together.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about a guitar? Pick
a guitar?
Yeah.
A guitar. So that one's actually fairly easy too. If this building started burning down, I would 100% go grab my 1955 Les Paul Jr. and I'd run.
Yeah.
I'd run fast.
Because there'd be lots of people chasing you for that.
They're gonna have to chase me hard, because that one is also was also my grandpa's. So,
oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, it does have kind of an interesting story to it, in that my grandpa played guitar, but he wasn't primarily a guitar player. He was mostly a piano player. And he was watching Antiques Roadshow in the early 2000s.
Oh, geez.
Or maybe mid 2000s. And he he was like, "Hey, I have one of those guitars." And it just came on, and he just told, yeah, and at the time the vintage guitar market was at its absolute peak. And so he's like, the one that pulled out, it went for like $10,000 or something, which is not normal for a junior these days. They're not cheap, but they're not $10,000. And
they're getting up there though, dude.
Are they really? I've been out of it for a little bit.
The clean ones are anyway. Yes.
Oh, I might have to pick your brain about that. But and he just looked over at my grandma. He's like, "I got one of those," and went and got it out of the closet. And
wow,
and this is what's so funny. He was talking to a friend of my dad's who was at the time a really big vintage guitar nut, and he was like, "Yeah, I seen this on Antiques Roadshow, but that one was a lot cleaner." It's like, I'm thinking about taking it, and because this finish is all cracked, I think I might go take it and go get it refinished.
I just feel it in my mouth.
Yeah, and my dad's friend was like, "No, don't do it, don't do it." And so he didn't, thankfully, and then it kind of went out of sight, out of mind. And this was around the time I just started playing guitar, and so I years later was talking to him about it. I was like, "Don't you have an old Junior in here?" And he pulled it out. And this is in 55. They fixed this in 56, but in 55, the bridge posts, the holes are too close to the humbucker route, so there's not enough meat there. And so they tend to pull forward over the years. And this one was pulled forward a little bit. So I told him, like, "Hey, I know some shops. I'll take it. I'll get this fixed and bring it back so you can play the thing. Because right now it's kind of unplayable." And so I did that, and got new tuners because the old tuners were crumbling off of the pegs. I still have them, but they're unusable in that condition. So got it all set up for him, got it dialed, and brought it back. And he's like, "Oh yeah, this is great. This is awesome. Why don't you just keep it?" I'm like, "What? Excuse me?"
Is it like TV yellow?
No, it's a sunburst.
Sunburst.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sunburst. And so, yeah, that's easily my number one, like very, very easily.
That's a cool one to have.
That's cool. Oh man, I want one of those. Excellent, man. Well, that was a lot easier. I thought that would be like you're or what am I gonna do? But hey, you know what you like, you got it. That's cool. Very few people actually have the guitar and amp of their dreams. So. Good on you.
Yeah, I feel pretty fortunate. And it's not the only one either. A close contender, and obviously it's going to lose out due to the family and the actual monetary value of the Junior. But a really close contender would be my '81 Les Paul Custom, which might sound weird to a lot of people, but I wanted a white Les Paul Custom for years, like years and years and years, and. Part of that was due to one of my most recent guests, actually, which is just, again, mind-blowing. But when I was a teeny bopper, My Chemical Romance were huge band at the time. And I watched Frank playing this white Les Paul. He was always playing a white Les Paul. And I was like, that is the coolest thing. And then also other bands I liked, Bouncing Souls, which was the reason he got it, ironically. He played a white Les Paul. Lots of hardcore bands I liked played white Les Pauls. Of course, Randy Rhoads.
Sure.
There was lots of sources, but the one that really stuck in my teenage brain was Frank Iero was playing one, and so I always wanted one. And for years I would go play one, and I'm like, oh, I don't really like this. It doesn't play very good, and doesn't sound very good. And finally, one came up for sale, and I went and played it unplugged in. And I was like, ooh, I think there might be something to this. And I was like, oh, I don't really have the money right now. And so I put it back. It was at Old Town Music here in Portland. I put it back. I'm like, not going to plug it in, because if I plug it in, I think I won't be able to take it. And I went home and I told my wife about it. And she was like, oh, that's cool, And then as the weeks progressed, she finally was like, will you stop talking about that guitar? I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. She's like, no, just shut up and go get the thing.
Oh,
I
wow.
was like, okay.
Marry that girl. Oh, wait, you did.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's so crazy. And so it just by chance, cause there was a couple people that were really interested in buying it. By chance, it was still there. I plugged it in. Tim Shaw humbuckers were just screaming. And I was like, it's finally happened. It's finally happened. And I just found this out a couple weeks ago. I've had the guitar for probably a year and a half or so. One of the guys that really wanted it was Bill from Mastodon. So I snuck in and stole it out from under for Bill. And I kind of feel bad, but kind of not at the same time because he's already got some.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that'd be a great guest.
I'd like to talk to him.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't get mad and try to punch me because I took his guitar. But
So you also developed something in your I guess your quest for guitarness. Tell us about the pedal. You did some pedals, right?
Oh yeah. So there's been some Tone Mob collaboration projects. There's been several. The only one that's technically like Tone Mob branded on the pedal itself is the Model 001 or Model 1 from that Solid Gold Effects helped me make. And there's a couple different versions. And with the exception of the purple and gold germanium version, the circuits are all the same. They're just aesthetically different. But that was like kind of my sort of like my perfect fuzz in a lot of ways. It was just like I told him what I wanted, and Greg absolutely just knocked it out of the park. It has a lot of variations in it, a lot of variations that aren't even really out there in the demos that much. It actually, especially the germanium version, has some really good low gain drive characteristics, and can go from just splatty to like wall of distortion sounds or Velcro. Like it's got a lot of different tones in it, and I'm really, really happy with how it came out. That's the only actual Tone Mob branded one, but there's been several others. But that's I don't know if you want me to get into all of them, but there's been, I don't remember, 8 or so.
Oh geez.
Yeah, there's been several.
Having your own, like the 001, that's pretty cool, man. That's got to be a good feeling, especially you and I are, again, not dissimilar in the fact it's like I'm not a builder. I have built a couple pedals, but that's just not where I'm going to go. So the idea of having one would be amazing, but then actually having one is probably really amazing.
It's insane. I mean, we keep talking about like what the podcast has led to, and it's like the things that it's let me do, and that's one of them. That's a big one. And then like getting to see kind of what the development process like is behind all that. I mean, that's part of what I do now, and for several different companies, and I've been hinting at it for a long time, and I still can't give full details, but I'm working on something with a couple really smart people that's going to be really, really awesome and far beyond anything I've been able to do so far. So I wish I could say more, but
no, that's fine. Just hint at me offline when it's ready.
Will do.
Now, one of Jarrett's favorite things is also one of your favorite things.
Yeah, pizza, man. Do you like thin crust, thick crust? Are you into the sauce? Like, what's your favorite? What right now, if you were to order a pizza and it was going to be all yours, what would it be?
So there's if I could pick anywhere, does it have to be like something that's available to me, or or can I go anywhere? Okay. If I could pick anywhere, I think I would go. I think I would go to New York City. I'm a big sucker for the New York slice.
Ah, the big old nice big slice.
Yeah. And I really like Joe's in New York City. That's kind of a classic, like it is like the quintessential New York slice. You know what I mean?
Folder.
But my favorite pizza experience ever was at Grimaldi's in Brooklyn. And it's just so good. Oh man, I still think about it. Love Grimaldi's in Brooklyn. It's so delicious.
Okay, so what's the toppings on the Grimaldi?
Oh, you can get different things. I mean, you're not going to go wrong
right now. What are you ordering?
Oh, right now I'll probably do from there. I'd probably do like I just keep it real simple. Do some like pepperoni and Italian sausage.
Check
I think that
and
sounds
check.
pretty good.
It's
There's a Mr. Grimaldi calling. What do you want on your pizza?
so much has to do about the amount of everything and every little ingredient that makes it that good, and how it's cooked and how it's made. How long was it cooked? All that kind of thing. I think the very best slice of pizza I've ever had in my life, and there was a lot of them, but it was at the Italian festival in Cleveland.
They're not different. He just means like lots of actual slices.
That's right.
No, I get it. Yeah.
So I was in, they pick on anything I say. So I was in Cleveland at the Italian festival, and this guy was making these small little personal pizzas out of it was a wagon with a brick fired, like a stone fired pizza or brick fired, one of the two. And it was it was like paper thin crust, barely any cheese on it, but the sauce was so good. It just, I can't explain it.
He's about to eat the microphone.
I've never had a slice of pizza taste so good with the least amount of cheese that was on that pizza. It was amazing. It was crazy.
All those things.
On next week's pizza podcast.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
So Blake, we're gonna kind of start to wrap it up here, but I'm curious to know: do you think things are going in a certain direction? Do you have any premonitions? What are you feeling that's happening right now? Is there a movement coming? What's happening?
So, in my opinion, the movement's already happening, and I there was a lot of doom and gloom about guitar's gonna die because Washington Post said so, and blah 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 blah. Gibson was in trouble, blah blah blah. All that was nonsense, in my opinion. We're, like you said, we're deep in it, and so maybe I'm too deep to really see the reality. But Gibson failed. They're restructuring. They're trying to get back on their feet. But
they got Mark Manghisi now. I mean, geez, Louise.
That's right. They'll be fine, right? He can't say it's Straturday though. That would be bad. But no, Gibson wasn't struggling because they weren't selling guitars. They were selling guitars. They struggled. They were struggling because they had some bad business deals on the consumer electronics side. They over leveraged themselves and blah 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 blah. All that's pretty obvious if you really look into the reports and stuff. They were selling guitars, and I can't say who exactly, but I talked to somebody at Fender recently that said in 2018 they sold more guitars than they ever have in the history of the company.
Wow.
So, and there's all these publications like, oh, retail sales are down. Yeah, okay, retail sales are down. That's because Guitar Center kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And mom and pop stores tend to be better. And also think about how much buying happens direct. We got companies, that are doing several $1 million in revenue they don't report it to anybody but the government. So how would these publications know, that these things are dying? They're using all these outdated metrics and all this stuff. I personally think there's more people playing guitar now than there ever have been. And I think that is reflected in the numbers if you really look at things and you really know what you're looking for. So to me, I think we're probably on the cusp of seeing, I do think there's a lot of a cyclical nature in our media and our culture. And, I think about, the waves of guitar music being real prevalent. And the last time it was like hyper prevalent with youth was basically my generation, what I like to say, the Warped Tour generation. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people who weren't close to that scene don't realize how massive and how influential some of those bands were.
Wristband rock.
Yeah, exactly. on guys my age and girls my age, like they were huge. Everyone was listening to that stuff. Half of my high school went to an Anti-Flag concert. It was crazy. Like it's and I think we're gonna see that again as guys my age are starting to have kids. I feel like when my generation's kids are teenagers and in their 20s, we're probably going to see some pretty incredible guitar-based music coming out. That's my high-level view of it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to happen too. At least I'm banking on it. I mean, what am I going to do if
You're
nobody
selling pickups?
I know. What am I going to do? Yeah, but I mean, country hasn't gone anywhere off the charts. I mean, country's still super mega, up there. These young kids either like country or rap, it seems like. But the guy playing the guitar, there's always some dude playing guitar in country. The lead
think
player, the star up front.
One of the big issues, though, is that there's been a tremendous amount of complacency, and if you think about like in history, it's not just these things, but whenever people get really pissed, they turn to the guitar and they make some rad music, and then people are like, "Yeah, I feel like that too." All right,
man.
With that, I'm gonna get out of this mess. Jared, you got something for us, bud?
Well, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Would You Rather? This week's Would You Rather is brought to us by our friend on Instagram, Jason at Road Noise Music on Instagram. Check him out. So, would you rather play a gig with your absolute favorite strings, your favorite gauge strings, but they're going to be 2 years old and rusty and dull and sound crappy and all that kind of thing? Or would you rather play a nice, new, fresh pair of strings on your guitar, but they're going to be 3 gauges different than your favorite strings?
That's a weird. That's a weird and interesting question. Tony Baloney, hit us.
3 gauge differences.
Yes.
It could be.
So
2 gauge difference if 3 gauges too.
If you're playing
heavier or
9s and now
lighter?
you got 12s, it doesn't matter.
Heavier.
Well,
Okay.
unless you're playing 12s and you got to play 9s.
You can't get much lighter than 8s, so you have to do
Okay.
heavier.
man, I mean, just nasty old strings are not good. Plain and simple.
You might get that tetanus.
Tetanus. You could get tetanus from
Tetanus.
it. Geez. I mean, even though the gauge difference is there, I mean, I'd be okay if it went heavier, but if it went lighter, I go sharp every time. I'm used to playing pretty heavy strings, but I'll go with the new strings.
All right. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
You got your own right answer. Jared, how about you?
I'm going to go with the fresh new because I got pretty big, tough hands. I can bend those, 13s or whatever. I can bend acoustic strings pretty well. So I'm good with the fresh strings. I can hack it for a night. I'll just suffer the next day.
Okay. Blake, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm with these guys. I'm going to go with the fresh strings that are way too heavy. Because like you said, you're not going to go much lighter than like 8s or something. Like that's just not going to happen.
Right.
And I can deal with that. I don't want to play strings that light myself, but I can handle it. And if you went 3 stages up from where I'm at, which is I'm usually playing in 10.5s or 11s, that would be pretty heavy. But I've done it before and could definitely handle it and would much prefer that because it would stay in tune mainly.
Just tune down.
When
Yeah.
you wouldn't
2
slice your
steps.
fingers to pieces either. I'm going with new ones. I think you'd have to be pretty hard pressed to say I really can only play the gauge that I always play. I think and plus again the tune. The only cool thing about having to play, like if you're doing a live show and you're like, oh, I forgot to change my strings 4 years ago or whatever it was, I don't know, is that you could pull a Neil Young and just hit a big power chord and then basically all of them just pop right off. That would be kind of epic. I think I would dig that kind of moment.
It wouldn't sound good, but it would definitely look good.
It would look really cool.
It would look great. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was pretty fun. We got a couple things and then we're going to get on out of here. Tony Baloney, you got something for me here?
I do, because at this point in the show, there's a very special group of people that we like to thank. Probably sitting around right now. Well, what's an executive producer? How do I become an executive
Somebody
producer?
important.
That's right. So what you want to do is go to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs and find out all the various levels that you can become a patron of this very podcast. Our favorite level, the people that help us the most and most consistently, are our executive producers. And one of the benefits, and including the various great prize packages that you get, t-shirts, barefoot buttons, picks, stickers, is, Jared, what's the best part of being an executive producer?
Well, like right now, you get to have your name read on the thing, man.
You get your name read on the thing. That's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to thank our executive producer. Let's thank Christopher Heidel. How about Tig Harmon? How about Tyler Bray, John Anglin, Anthony Lathrop, Johnny Knowles, Stefan Lam, Rick Langlu, Michael McVeigh, Michael Senchuk, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Ken Sayers, Corey Nigro, Brad Partridge, Michael Van Zant, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Robert Marfleet, Chris Kearney, Sean S. Oliver Gonzalez, John Daly, Robin Smith, Pete Marshall, Carlos Mancha, Matt Brammer, David Wolfson, Martin Cliff, and Tom Barazin.
Amen.
Thank you,
all those
one and
things.
all.
Yes, sirree, Bob. We are so appreciative of y'all. And, Tony, you might be doing something right because we keep getting new ones. And that you guys, when I get that little message, the first thing I do is I ring these guys up, and I am just thrilled to death. And I run and I write a nice note, and we package everything up, and it's a lot of fun for us. And we've had many of our old guests contribute great swag to put in those bags of stuff that we send you guys. So much thanks. You are truly helping to keep the lights on in our studio. Blake, where can people get a hold of you?
They can find me just about anywhere. I'm at the Tone Mob on all the socials, pretty much. Instagram being the primary, if that's your thing. And they can find me on Facebook. They can find me on email at info@tonemob.com, and they can check out the podcast. It's called the Tone Mob Podcast on pretty much wherever they want to listen to podcasts. And if you can't find it, email me, and I'll try to make sure it goes wherever you need it to go. So,
bueno. Yeah. Awesome. Tony?
Muy bueno. Let's say you want a special pick guard. Let's just say you want to change out pickups. Let's just say you're just tired of a plain white pick guard. You want something different.
Sparkles.
Sparkle. I know a guy that likes sparkles.
Gold sparkle, baby.
Go over to pickguardian.com. No / no nothing. Just go to pickguardian.com. And you'll see some of the stuff. There's some items you can order online. But if you have something very special in mind, contact me either through the website or at info@pickguardian.com. Or go over to Instagram to the handle pickguardian and the number 1 and see some of the projects I've been working on, some different things that I'm doing.
Excellent. Jared?
Well, if you are interested in getting some new pickups, even some new old-looking pickups to match your old guitar, go to Brandon.
What about old pickups that look new?
Actually, I've got some of those too.
I think I might have broke them.
I think you broke them.
But I keep them. Anyway, go to BrandonWildPickups.com, and I'll take care of you there. My email's on the thing, and
yeah,
just get a hold of me and stuff.
There you go.
Get some new pickups. Thanks.
Todd, what about you? How can people get a hold of you?
Todd at theguitarknobs.com. Shoot me an email or direct message me on Instagram. Please let us know what your would you rather is. And again, if you're out there wearing our shirts or our pins that we send you, like, take a picture, send it to us.
Yep.
Blake, we're so stoked that you hung out with us on this show. We had a great time talking with you, man.
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun.
Good.
Lots and lots of fun.
Excellent. Well, continued success with your endeavors. It sounds like you have quite a few of them going on. Please keep us posted on those, and we're happy to let our listeners know what you're up to as you send those to us.
We'll definitely do.
Right on.
Definitely. I'll put you on the put you on the whatever the media list,
The special
for that
list.
stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Which may not be the good one. I'm not really sure.
You've made the list again, Todd.
Welcome to the list.
Yes.
The mob's coming to your house.
Yeah, we'll get you on that council too. All right. Hey, everybody, have a great guitar week. We will hit you guys up next time. And in the meantime, subscribe! Gosh, stop it.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Cheeseburgers.
You ever come to Pataskala, Ohio, which you probably never will.
We'll get you a Thurman burger.
I like that too.
I will treat you to one of the best burgers you've ever had. It sounds like you have a lot of things in life that sounds like you know what you like and enjoy them a lot. Like pizza. You got your
That's the one.
hey man, he's not upset that I mentioned pizza.
No, I really like pizza.
I like you.
I believe it.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.